We're about halfway through spring, which means we get a great opportunity now to talk to Hode Rubino from Devil's Digest, give us all the down low about some pretty seismic things that have been happening on both sides of the ball up until this point. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. But Hode, we're going to get right into it here. Much has been made of this offensive line about how, yes, it's 5 new guys, but there's talent there, there's development. But from what we saw at Camp T, there are some serious pass protection questions.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely were, more sacks than he wanted to take place. There's no doubt about that. There was even a bad snap from a backup center that caused one of two red zone turnovers. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the pass protection, if you want to be honest, even going back to spring, was kind of shaky. Sure, you always have the other side of the equation that the defensive end position for ASU is strong. It's deep. You definitely have to give them credit for doing exactly what they're been asked to do every day in practice. But yeah, I would say right now that the offensive tackles for ASU not really performing as well as you want them to. You can always make the argument, okay, it's still kind of early in preseason preparation. There's still time to improve, but I think in all honesty, you would like to see, especially with a brand new quarterback, just more comfort level when it comes to the pass protection. And to your point, really not seeing it so far.
And where does this put us? I was looking at some numbers the other day. You look at the different boards and what people are talking, and it looks like Cutter Boley's like clean pocket release timing is about a half a second, 0.4 seconds ish faster than Sam Levitt. So even if we're not holding the pocket as long as we would like, where does this put us now that we do have a quarterback that maybe can get the ball out a little bit faster?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it definitely beats the alternative,
Yeah.
that you have a quarterback that does have a quick release, does also have a high rate of completions. And I'm not only talking about the 70 to 75% that he completed during the fall camp to date, but also if you go back to last year at Kentucky, and everybody is maybe hung up a little too much on the 12 interceptions, but his completion rate was very high too as a starting quarterback. So I think that you do have a good combination of quick release and a high completion rate going for Cutter Bowl, which is I think one of the reasons why he's going to be named the starter, the starter quarterback any day now. But sure, I mean I think it does help when you have a shaky pass protection. There's no doubt about that. But it's almost like you also playing with fire, if you will, because ultimately, if the pass protection issues are going to persist and are going to be at a pretty high adverse rate, even a quick release quarterback is not going to be able to withstand all the pressure coming, especially when you're facing teams like Texas Tech, Texas A&M, and BYU on the schedule, all on the road, and dealing with crowd noise on top of that. So that right now doesn't look like a great combination. But again, I think give the offensive tackles a chance to, maybe prove all of us wrong. But again, there's no doubt that right now pass protection in fall camp to date has not been great.
Yeah, and that is kind of the follow-up question to this is, pass protection has not been all that great. Again, we moved Luke Baklenko over to left tackle, Champ Westbrook's on the second team. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. But on the flip side, I think I've seen some reporting from you saying that, well, the run protection, the run blocking is not all that bad. But, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in the second segment, but Hode, I haven't seen a lot from the running backs. So where do we stand there?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to also in part of the defensive tackle being a very strong group. I mean, a lot of folks maybe thought that beyond CJ Fight, there were not any formidable players over here, but you look at veterans like Blazin Lona Long and Zach Swanson, Jeffrey Mans, and Hiram Vanille from the junior college ranks playing well. Even Rashad McKenzie flashed a little in fall camp, so you do have a good group of defensive tackles there. But you're right. I mean, you obviously are not going to have the running backs let off the hook, not going to have the offensive line let off the hook. And it's something that, definitely has been a concern, which is kind of surprising because I feel as much as we talk about the offensive tackles being a sore spot right now, I feel that the interior of the defensive line in comparison is definitely playing at a higher level. Tana Alutupola, the transfer center from Georgia Tech, has been very good. Really no snapping issues that are really staring you at the face, and just operating well as a blocker too. Makai Stewart, the left guard. I mean, that is just an absolute godsend to have such a young player just get better and better. Legitimate NFL prospect, somebody that could be leading for the NFL draft after the 2027 season, which is very, very rare, especially for an offensive lineman playing as much as he did as a true freshman and playing as well as he did as a true freshman. And I think his sophomore year is going to be that much better. And at right tackle, you have Wade Elton and Rob Lapano still battling each other, but still playing fairly well. But yeah, I think you like to see run blocking at a higher rate. You also look at the running backs. I mean, I know everybody talks about Kyson Brown being the starter, and maybe him being the starter this year doesn't matter that much because we're finally going to see, for good or for bad, the running back by committee. We're going to see a lot of different running backs each and every Saturday there. But you just like to see Kyson Brown as the leader of the group, as the veteran of the group in terms of returning player, just really step up his game more than he has so far. And I think it's been really kind of lukewarm to date. Marquise Gillis and Jason Brown have been impressive, and I think especially Gillis is really pushing maybe that starting running back. David Abbott, the transfer from Villanova, has been impressive. But I do agree with you, Phil. It's just been more in spurts instead of a consistent effort. Instead of walking away from any given practice in fall camp and say, "Wow, running game absolutely dominant today." We really have not been at that point yet. And if I recall, in spring practice, I think it was the last scrimmage of spring practice, that was absolutely the case. The ground attack was cooking on all cylinders. Didn't matter which offensive lineman you put out there, which running backs you put out there. They were just mowing down the defense. Now, obviously, you have to put the caveat: CJ Fine wasn't there, Zach Swanson wasn't there, and that definitely exposed maybe some of the depth that the defensive tackle had at that time in spring. Again, I think the defensive tackle depth is much better in fall camp, and that's definitely slowing down the running back group. But I think we can and should expect more from the ground attack to play better. Just like the pass protection, they do have a couple of weeks to fix it before the season opener.
Yeah, and final question here is we talk about this offensive line. I mean, you've been covering the Sun Devils for like what 27 years now.
Yeah, it's
it,
27.
it doesn't seem all that uncommon for early on in fall practices to say the defense is ahead of the offense.
Mhm.
Offense comes forward, but I want you to put this in context for me. We're now in week 3 of fall practice. Quarterback, as you said, probably going to get named Wednesday. In the context of where we expect things to be, is it still fair to say, well, yeah, it's early, defense is ahead of the offense, or are we starting to get to the point where we kind of should be a little bit more concerned about how this offensive line has been performing?
Well, I know the team is most likely going to have their final scrimmage of fall camp this Saturday, so I think that's really going to be a point where okay, you are what you are as a team. Whatever we're going to see on display uh, on that scrimmage is possibly going to be a fairly good indicator, not the end all be all, but fairly good indicator of where this team is in all aspects. But again, the pass protection worries me more about the run blocking, and I don't recall even last year or the year before. In 2023, you just really kind of throw out of the window because of
It didn't
just
count. Yeah.
yeah, just because all the newness of the team and the coaching staff and everything. But I don't remember, maybe my memory is betraying me. This late in fall camp, pass protection being such an issue. So that's something that I think a lot of fans and the coaches too would probably want to see quite the improvement in the scrimmage this coming Saturday. But also again, run blocking, ground attack that also needs to step up, and really the offense as a whole needs to step up because last Saturday at Camp T was not really all that convincing, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, so it does beg the question. You talk about the running back room. Kenny said we're going to run by committee. There are 7 guys that could play time. Which of them are going to be the premier backs? That's next. There's so much worth seeing right now, whether it's games, comedy shows, concerts, just a whole bunch of stuff. And while figuring out what you want to go see is easy, actually getting there and buying the tickets is just obnoxious between, added fees, waiting times, confusing checkout processes, not sure being really sure exactly what your seat's going to actually see. It's just why fans more and more are swapping on over to Game Time, because they're going to go and they're going to make sure that what you see is what you pay. You're not going to go and be slapped on with some extra fees. You're going to be able to see exactly what your sight line is. And just to make life a little bit better for you, they're going to give you some exclusive savings too. So you can be confident that you're going to get the right ticket for the right price. And, I was trying to go see a show the other day. One of my favorite bands was in town. And I tried to go through the normal process. It was awful. I couldn't be sure I was even going to see the stage. I went on over Game Time. I saw the seat. I was like, this is awesome. I was able to go and make sure I had the right price. So if you want to go and do the same thing, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, so we've covered the offensive line at least as much as we can in about 10 minutes. But, offensive line, pass game, sure. There are a lot of running backs in this room, Hode, and it does beg the question, and we talked about it a little bit a couple minutes ago. Kyson Brown was the expected RB1, but he really has not been performing through this fall.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a lukewarm performance. I mean, I'm not gonna, take it to the extreme and say that he's absolutely been horrible and questioning why he's even out there more times than not as the first quarterback that sees the field. But I think just a lukewarm performance, and I think for your guy Sabrana, you should embrace the higher expectations and really play up to them. There definitely is not any injury issue with him or anything like that. It's just not really, being as dynamic as he can and should be. And I think Esther Brown has proved, in his first couple years in Tempe, that when he's in the open field, he can definitely do some damage. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. So we've seen already a lot of traits that he has exhibited. So to ask a guy like Esther Brown to do that, I don't think is really, out of pocket. Maybe it's also a matter of just the competition being tighter than it's ever been. I mean, you compare, last year. I mean, really Brown, I guess you would say did give him some good competition. Kanye Udo definitely didn't. No other running back in that room really was pushing Kyson Brown. And now it's just really a different deal altogether. As I mentioned earlier, Marquise Gillis is somebody who I wouldn't be shocked would be the starting running back when the season opener rolls by. I think Jason Brown is definitely breathing down the neck of both Gillis and Kyson Brown, and even David Abbott, somebody who came here as maybe the quote unquote one trick pony, short yardage guy, goal line guy. He's somebody that proves that he can be more than just that niche role, if you will. Also, a really good receiver on the backfield as well. So you just got more competition for Kyson Brown, and maybe that is just a different scenario, a different structure that he did not have to deal with last year, and maybe it's taking him longer than anybody wanted for him to really find his footing, no pun intended. But again, I think there's still time for Kyson Brown to right his own ship and to prove that he should be the starting running back and just really perform at a high level. I would almost say it's a really almost borderline head scratcher why we have not seen Kyson Brown somewhat separate himself from the pack.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like it's one thing when we talk about a lot of competition. If it's like two or three guys that are just hitting 50s all over the place, they're making their presence known. It's like, okay, well, I don't know who's gonna start because there are three or four guys that are just having a great fall, which doesn't really seem to be the case to me, Hode, for the time being. I mean, yeah, Gillis has a 20-yard run here. Kyson maybe rips the sideline there. But we did have one kind of touchdown in scrimmage. I mean, it got called back through no fault of his own. But where do we see Carde Mack fitting in this fall?
Well, like Kenny said, Cardi Mack might be the designated Sparky, not
Yeah.
Wildcat, Sparky direct snap formation. But really, in Cardi Mack was also a quarterback in high school, for those who don't know. But other than that, I mean, I think there definitely has to be a role for him. But look, I mean, even when we talk about running back and committee, okay, to roll out 4 running backs on any given game, especially when you're playing the top tier of the Big 12, okay, that's reasonable. Now we talk about quarterback number 5 or quarterback number 6, Man Robinson, quarterback number 7, Grayson Rigdon. Yeah, I mean, Morgan State should definitely allow you that chance. Otherwise, this going to be a blowout, whether good blowout or bad blowout. That's really going to allow you to play Carde Mack and the other were 2 running backs that I did mention. I know that now with the new 5-for-5 rule, there's no such thing as redshirting a freshman, so the ASU coaches will throw out Carde Mack and any other true freshman for that matter as often as they see fit. But with all honesty, I don't know if Carde Mack has really challenged any of the first four, I'm sorry, running backs that I mentioned, Kyson Brown, Marquise Gillis, Jason Brown, and David Abbott. Maybe that can still happen by the end of full camp or maybe throughout the season. But right now, it is going to be a little hard for Carde Mack to find snaps as a running back on any given Saturday.
Yeah, and speaking of those 4 running backs, I feel like Demarius Robinson, Man Robinson, had
Mhm.
a great spring. I mean, I think it felt like every 2 practices he was ripping for 50 yards and just having a great time. Has he just fallen off the pace this fall?
I just think that I don't know if I'd really call him a sophomore slump, but I think maybe it just comes down to also Kyson Brown. I think the competition level that he's having this year is almost night and day to what he had in 2025. And I think that that is really showing its signs. And also just being a younger player, he's just encountering obstacles that, might be easier to overcome when you're a third, fourth, fifth year player and a little harder when you're just a second year player. He's somebody who doesn't really run that well between the tackles. And that's okay because some running backs just have their own niche. But I think as a running back, the less versatile you are, it's probably the harder to really succeed. Because like I just think guys like Marquise Gillis, Jason Brown, and even I would so throw in David Abbott over there, the versatility that they're showing is allowing them a somewhat higher rate than success than other running backs in the room. So I think that's what Man Robinson is up against, and we'll see if he's able to improve his own performance in the coming weeks.
Some people definitely go and they when you give them a lot of competition, they rise and they excel. And some just unfortunately wilt a little bit, which sounds like maybe Kyson Brown's doing, maybe Man Robinson is doing. But as we kind of put a pin here on this question of who's going to be RB1, because I'm not sure how much it really matters with this rotation we're going to do. What's a number, right? We've had 1,000-yard rusher for the last however long, ignoring 2023. Are we going to get another one this year? Is it 2 800s? What's your prediction for the year, Hode?
Yeah, I just feel if it's really going to be a true running back by committee, I think that the great Sean Aguano streak of having 1,000-yard rusher or a running back with 1,000 all-purpose yards, which Cam Skattebo was in 2023,
Mhm.
I think that has a good chance, maybe even a very good chance of being broken because I do feel ultimately it is going to be the true running back by committee. So to your point, to have 2 rushers of 800 yards each, or maybe 1 800, 1 700, I think it's probably going to be a more realistic scenario, unless Kyson Brown does a near 180 and really proves that he should be the cowbell, or Marquise Gillis, running back, transfer from Delaware State, somebody I've been very very high on
Mhm.
even before spring practice started. Maybe he emerges as the alpha male in the room. I think maybe those are the only 2 guys that I can see in this position that may end up being that dominant running back, a la Raleek Brown last year. But otherwise, the running back by committee is going to take its toll, for lack of a better term, and maybe that 1,000-yard rusher or 1,000-yard all-purpose running back streak will be broken in 2026.